I have not known that light, my friend. I have spent my time with a wind that breathes cold through the broken battlements of my castle, alone. I have walked a world of darkness all the evenings of my life, shared the twilight as my mistress, claimed the midnight as my wife. I have spent my time in shadows, stayed sequestered from the sun, and my spirit sleeps until the day is done. For the dreams of darkness are the only dreams I know, and the face of darkness is the only face I show. Oh, the sound of darkness is 1,000 silent screams, but the deepest part of darkness is the dreams. What kind of dreams, Mr. Harker? Dreams of my past, of my people. I carry inside me the spirit of the Huns, whose vengeful fury swept the earth like a living flame. But man had power to equal that of the blood in these veins. The power, the blood. But my young friend, those warlike days are gone, long gone. Now we live in peace, and you must sleep in peace, for your journey has been a long one. Your room awaits, Mr. Harker.
Good night, Count.
Yes, the glories of the past are like a light that has been extinguished. And now, Mr. Harker, we must all dwell in darkness. When you step inside the darkness, you will soon forget the light. For you cease to mourn the morning once you celebrate the night, and a new illumination will possess your very soul as you feel the power of darkness take control. Then the dreams of darkness kill the dreams you had before, for the heart of darkness beats inside you evermore. And the Prince of Darkness will appear and tell you the dreams of darkness never, ever die. dreams of a darkness never ever die.
Good evening and welcome to the Bride of Corinth halfway to Halloween Extravaganza. Tonight, have we got a show lined up for you. 2022 is considered the year of the vampire because it marks the 100th anniversary since Nosferatu was released. It also, May 26th, marks the 125th anniversary of Dracula by Bram Stoker. And what better way to celebrate than by reciting vampire poetry from the 18th and 19th century to mark this bloodthirsty occasion. And also, May 9th marked Punch and Judy's 360th UK birthday, so we have a little treat lined up for you for that as well. A little tale entitled Punchinello Goes to Hell. And since, of course, April 31st marked the halfway point to Halloween, we're going to be celebrating a little bit early by sharing more tales of the supernatural, folk tales, death poetry, and we have a special little treat lined up for you. We're going to share a little story that was written by myself when I was but a wee 7 years old. I'm going to apologize in advance for that, and I hope you enjoy it, of course, and have fun, because that's what we're here for, to have fun. So, enough of me rambling on about the past and the future and what's to come. Let's get on with the show, shall we? So sit back, grab your favorite corpse and your pint of blood, and enjoy the Bride of Corinth halfway to Halloween Extravaganza.
Marquis, I am thy father's spirit. If thou didst ever thy dear father love, revenge his foul and most unnatural murder, I find thee apt. Now Hamlet here is given out at sleeping in mine orchard. A serpent stung me, but know thou noble youth, the serpent that did sting thy father's life now wears his crown. But soft, methinks I sense the morning air. Brief let me be, sleeping within mine orchard, my custom always in the afternoon. Upon my secure hour thy uncle stole, with juice of cursed Hebnon in a vial, and in the porches of mine ears did pour the leprous distilment, whose effect holds such an enmity with blood of man, that swift as quicksilver it courses through the natural gates and alleys of the body. So did it mine. Thus was I, sleeping by a brother's hand, of life, of crown, of queen at once despatched. If thou hast nature in thee, bear it not. But howsoever thou pursuest this act, change not thy mind, nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother's thought. Fare thee well, Hamlet, remember me, remember me, remember me.
There was once a pretty young girl with no husband, no father, no mother, no brothers, no kinfolk. They were all dead and gone. She lived alone in the hut at the end of the village, and no one came near her, and she never went near anyone. One evening a goodly wanderer came to her, opened the door, and cried, "I am a wanderer, and I have been far from the world. Here will I rest. I can no further go." The maiden said, "Stay here, and I will give thee a mattress to sleep on, and if thou wilt, victuals and drink too." The goodly wanderer soon lay down and said, "Now once again I sleep. It is long since I slept last." "How long?" asked the girl, and he answered, Dear maid, I sleep but once a week in 1,000 years. The girl laughed and said, Thou jest surely. Thou art a roguish fellow. But the wanderer was sound asleep. Early next morning he rose and said, Thou art a pretty girl. If thou wilt, I will tarry here a whole week longer. She gladly agreed, for already she loved the good wanderer. So once they were sleeping, and she roused him and said, Dear man, I dreamt such an evil dream. I dreamt thou hadst grown cold and white, and we drove in a beautiful carriage drawn by 6 white birds. Thou didst blow a mighty horn, then dead folk came up and went with us. Thou wert their king. Then answered the goodly wanderer, That was an evil dream. Straightway he rose and said, Beloved, I must go, for not a soul has died this long while in all the world. I must off, let me go. But the girl wept and said, Go not away, bide with me. I must go, he answered, God keep thee. But as he reached for her hand, she said, sobbing, Tell me, dear man, who art thou then? Who knows that dies? Said the wanderer, Thou ask'st vainly. I tell thee not who I am. Then the girl wept and said, I will suffer everything, only tell me who thou art. Good, said the man, then thou comest with me. I death. The girl shuddered and died. Written in a moment of exasperation, how can you lie so still? All day I watch, and never a blade of all the green sod moves to show where restlessly you toss and turn, and fling a desperate arm or draw up knees, stiffened and aching from their long disuse. I watch all night, and not one ghost come forth to take its freedom from the midnight hour. Oh, you have no rebellion in your bones. The very worms must scorn you where you lie, a pallid, mouldering, acquiescent folk, meek habitants of unresented graves. Why are you there in your straight row on row, where I must ever see you from my bed? That in your mere dumb presence iterate the text so weary in my ears? Lie still and rest. Be patient and lie still and rest. I will not be patient. I will not lie still. There is a brown road runs between the pines, and further on to the purple woodlands lie, and still beyond blue mountains lift and loom. And I would walk the road, and I would deep in the wooded shade, and I would reach the windy mountain tops that touch the clouds. My eyes may follow, but my feet are held, recumbent as you others must do. I too submit, be mimic of your movelessness, with pillow and counterpane for stone and sod. And if the many savings of the wise teach of submission, I will not submit, but with a spirit of all unreconciled flash and unquenched defiance to the stars. Better it is to walk, to run, to dance. Better it is to laugh and leap and sing, to know the open skies of dawn and night, to move untrammered down the flaming noon. And I will clamber through the weary days, keeping the edge of desperation sharp, nor with the pliant speaking of my lips of resignation sister to defeat. I will not be patient, I will not lie still. An ironic quietude, who is the despot of our days and lord of dust, needs but not scarce heeding, wait to drop, grim casual comment on the rebellion's end. Yes, yes, willfully and petulant, but now as dead and quiet as others are. And this each body and ghost of you hath heard, that in your graves do therefore lie so still. I am not so superstitious as some of your physicians, men of science as you are pleased to be called, says Harvey, replying to an accusation that had not been made. Some of you, only a few I confess, believe in immortality of the soul and in apparitions for which you have not the honesty to call ghost. I go no further than a conviction that the living are sometimes seen where they are not, but have been where they have lived so long, perhaps so intensely as to have left their impress on everything about them. I know indeed that one's environment may be so affected by one's personality as to yield long afterwards an image of oneself to the eye of another. Doubtless the impressing personality has to be the right kind of personality, as the perceiving eyes have to be the right kind of eyes. Mine, for example. Yes, the right kind of eyes, conveying sensations of the wrong kind of brain, said Dr. Fraley, smiling. Thank you. One likes to have an expectation gratified. That is about the reply that I suppose you would have the civility to make.
Pardon me, but you say that you know. That is a good deal to say, don't you think? Perhaps you will not mind the trouble of saying how you learned.
You will call it a hallucination, Harva said, but that does not matter. And he told the story. Last summer, I went, as you know, to pass the hot weather term in the town of Meridian. The relative at whose house I had intended to stay was ill, so I sought other quarters. After some difficulty, I succeeded in renting a vacant dwelling that had been occupied by an eccentric doctor by the name of Mannering, who had gone away years before. No one knew where, not even his agent. He had built the house himself and had lived in it with an old servant for about 10 years. His practice, never very extensive, had after a few years been given up entirely. Not only so, but he had withdrawn himself almost altogether from social life and become a recluse. I was told by the village doctor, about the only person with whom he had any relation, that during his retirement he had devoted himself to a single line of study, the result of which he had expounded in a book that did not commend itself to the approval of his professional brethren, who, indeed, considered him not entirely sane. I have not seen the book, and cannot now recall the title of it, but I am told that it expounded a rather startling theory. He held that it was possible, in the case of many a person in good health, to forecast his death with precision several months in advance of the event. The limit, I think, was 18 months. There were local tales of his having exerted his powers of prognosis, or perhaps you would say diagnosis, and it was said that in every instance the person whose friends he had warned had died suddenly at the appointed time, and from no assignable cause. All this, however, had nothing to do with what I have to tell. I thought it might amuse a physician. The house was furnished just as he had lived in it. It was rather a gloomy dwelling for one who was so neither a recluse nor a student, and I think it gave something of its character to me, perhaps some of its former occupant's character, for always I felt in a certain melancholy that was not in my natural disposition, nor, I think, due to the loneliness. I had no servants that slept in the house, but I have always been, as you know, rather fond of my own society, being much addicted to reading, though little to study. Whatever was the cause, the effect was dejection and a sense of impending evil. This was especially so in Dr. Mannering's study, although that room was the lightest and most airy in the house. The doctor's life-size portrait in oil hung in that room and seemed completely to dominate it. There was nothing unusual in the picture. The man, evidently rather good-looking, about 50 years old, with iron gray hair and a smooth-shaven face and dark, serious eyes. Something in the picture always drew and held my attention. The man's appearance became familiar to me and rather haunted me. One evening I was passing through this room to my bedroom with a lamp. There was no gas in Meridian. I stopped as usual before the portrait, which seemed in the lamplight to have a new expression, not easily named, but distinctly uncanny. It interested but did not disturb me. I moved the lamp from one side to the other and observed the effects of the altered light. While so engaged, I felt an impulse to turn around. As I did, I saw a man moving across the room directly toward me. As soon as he came near enough to the lamplight to illuminate his face, I saw that it was Dr. Mannering himself. It was as if the portrait were walking. "I beg your pardon," I said somewhat coldly, "but if you knocked, I did not hear." He passed me within an arm's length, lifted his right forefinger as if in warning, and without a word went on out of the room, though I observed his exit no more than I observed his entrance. Of course, I need not tell you that this was what you call a hallucination and I call an apparition. That room only had 2 doors, of which one was locked and the other led into a bedroom, from which there was no exit. My feeling on realizing this is not an important part of the incident. Doubtless, this seems to you a very commonplace ghost story, one constructed on the regular lines laid down by the old masters of the art. If that was so, I should not have related it, even if it were true. The man was not dead. I met him today in Union Street. He passed me in the crowd. Harva finished his story and both men were silent. Dr. Fraley absently drummed on the table with his fingers. "Did he say anything today?" he asked. "Anything from which you inferred that he was not dead?" Harva stared and did not reply. "Perhaps," continued Fraley, "he made a sign, a gesture, lifted a finger as in warning. It's a trick he had.
A habit when saying something serious, announcing the result of a diagnosis, for example. Yes, he did, just as his apparition had done. But good God, did you ever know him? Hava was apparently growing nervous. I knew him. I had read his book, as will every physician someday. It is one of the most striking and important of the century's contributions to medical science. Yes, I knew him. I attended him in his illness 3 years ago. He died. Hava sprang from his chair, manifestly disturbed. He strode forward and back across the room, then approached his friend in a voice not altogether steady, said, Doctor, have you anything to say to me? As a physician? No, Hava. You are the healthiest man I know. As a friend, I advise you to go to your room. You play the violin like an angel. Play it. Play something light and lively. Get this cursed bad business off your mind. The next day, Hava was found dead in his room, the violin at his neck, the bow upon the string. His music opened before him at Chopin's Funeral March. I am come, once again from the tomb, in return for the ring which you gave, that I am thine and that thou art mine. This nuptial pledge receive. He lay like a corpse neath the demon's force, and she wrapped him in a shroud, and she fixed her teeth his heart beneath, and she drank of the warm life blood. And ever and anon murmured the lips of stone, Soft and warm is this couch of thine. Thou'lt tomorrow be laid on a colder bed. Albert, that bed will be mine. Juan Vasquez Ayala and 2 other young Spaniards on their way to a French university were unable to find a suitable accommodation at a certain village where they had halted for the night and were obliged to take shelter in a deserted house, the reputation of which as a haunted vicinity had flourished for a considerable time among the villagers. The young men made the best of matters, borrowed articles of furniture from several neighboring houses, and resolved to give a warm reception to any supernatural visitant who should have a mind to pay them a call. But on the first night of their occupancy, they had scarcely fallen asleep when they were awakened by a noise of clanking chains, which seemed to proceed from the lower region of their temporary dwelling. Absolutely fearless, young Ayala leapt from his bed, and donning his clothes, sailed down the stairs in search of the cause of the clamor which had awakened himself and his comrades. In one hand he carried his drawn sword, and the other a lighted candle, and on coming to a door which led to the courtyard of the house, he perceived a dreadful spectre, a grisly skeleton standing before the entrance. The grim apparition which confronted him was loaded with chains, which clanked as a doomful and melancholy sound on the ears of the gallant young student, who, however, undismayed by the spectacle before him, advanced to the point of his sword and demanded the intruder's reason for disturbing his rest. The phantom waved its arms, shook its bony head, and beckoned with its hand, as if asking Ayala to follow it. The student expressed his willingness to do so, on which the ghost commenced to descend a flight of stairs, dragging its legs as it went like a man whose limbs were weighted with iron shackles. Ayala followed fearlessly, but as he advanced his candle suddenly flickered and went out, a circumstance which did little to reinforce his courage. "Hold!" he called out to the phantom. "You perceive my candle has gone out. If you will wait till I relight it, I shall return in a moment." Rushing to a light which burned in the hall, he relit the candle and returned to the spot where he had left the apparition. He entered the garden, where he saw a well, close by which he perceived the ghost, which signed to him to continue his progress, and having gone a little way forward, vanished. Puzzled, the student returned to his apartment and told his comrades to accompany him to the garden, but search as they might, nothing could they find. The next day they had reported what had occurred to the accolade of the village, who had the garden examined,
with the result that immediately beneath the spot where the phantom had disappeared, a skeleton was exhumed, loaded with chains. When proper burial had been given to the remains, the noises in the house abruptly ceased, but the adventure proved too much for the superstitious Spaniards, who returned home abruptly, without fulfilling the object of their journey.
Malice drawing near, with the full moon bringing fear, visions of crimson as yellow eyes leer. Torment and pain, my mind starts to fray, that hunger, to the orb of night I bay. Sequestered from sanity, instincts so primal invade. The hunted becomes the hunter, with teeth like blades. Catch the scent with murderous intent, and that hunger, blood mist the air like curses on the wind. Betrayed by the dawn, left exposed like a newborn fawn.
Forgive me for not introducing myself. I am Count Dracula.
Count Dracula. Allow me to return the courtesy. My name is...
Oh, I know you. Miss Lucy Westenra. I have known you forever. You and I are lovers, although we've never met. With so much to remember and nothing to forget. I recall a moment yet to be. See our arms entwining, moonlight coldly shining down on you and me. How the world will mock us and laugh our love to scorn, insisting that our passion will vanish every morn. But you must face the future. I will show you how. Yes, we could live forever if you love me now. If you love me now, love me without fear. Anywhere you go, I will have you near. Have you in my heart, hold you in my mind. Leave all other loves half a world behind. Everything I do, everything I vow, it will all come true if you love me now. The rose in your hand is beautiful, but to know its beauty completely, you must possess it.
But it has caused me pain.
Do not be afraid of the thorns. They are but a doorway of pain that you must pass through to a universe of pleasure. Let it begin. First, the pressure, a moment of exquisite agony. And then It is all over. The pain is past. The pleasure is to come. And look, a drop of blood to seal the bargain. And now, my dearest Lucy, we are one.
You and I were lovers 1,000,000 lives ago. A moment made of mystery that no one else could know. Nighttime was eternal. Dawn would never break. And a world of treasure, long forbidden pleasure, was all ours to take. Then that world was shattered and we were thrown apart, but I have kept the memory still blazing in my heart.
You must face the future. I will show you how. Yes, we could live forever.
If you love me now.
If you love me now, love me without fear, and anywhere you go,
I will have you
deep
near.
within, I'll have you in my heart, hold you in my mind, leave all other
Others have a world behind. Everything I do,
everything I vow, it will
all come true.
if you love me
Good evening. A popular form of entertainment in the 19th century was puppetry. In fact, the most famous and still widely popular puppet in England today is that of a character known worldwide by the name of Punch and his wife Judy. Here is a brief history for those who do not know Punch and Judy. Their story goes back to the 16th century to an Italian string puppet named Punchinello. Punchinello had a wife named Joan. When Punchinello came to England, he was much adored, and by the 1800s, his name was shortened to Punch and his wife's name was changed to Judy. He was also transformed into a hand puppet, as there were no strings to interfere or get tangled with any props, including slapstick, other objects, and they were easy to transport. Punch is known for his squeaky voice and, shall we say, mischievous behavior, or what some might even declare as borderline sociopath. But we're not here to judge. We're here to be entertained. Known for his catchphrase, "That's the way to do it," Punch and Judy have been a part of English heritage for over 350 years. Now, on to our story. As we shall call him, Punchinello lives in his home with his wife Joan, and they have a caring relationship. They laugh, sing, and dance. Sure, they come to blows from time to time, but who doesn't? In our story, Punchinello is a very naughty fellow, and let's just say things do not go well for him, as implied by the show's title. But before we start, let us meet our illustrious guest.
He is a relatively small fellow who lives in a small house. This house, in fact. Punchinello, would you please come up from the basement and say hello to the good folks on the other end of this magic picture? I'm sure he'll be up any second now.
Punchinello! Punchinello, get up here!
It is I, the Marquis. We're doing a show. Remember our discussion last night by any chance? No thank you. When you're done, why don't you say hello to everyone? Well, they're not here physically, but they're here in spirit and on the other side of that glass circle thing. They're there, trust me. Good Lord, what happened to your hand? Oh my, what on earth did you do? Well, all things considered, how are you tonight? No, I do not want to fight. I said, how are you tonight? I said, no. Moving on. Can we meet your lovely wife?
Oh, what is it? I'm washing the dishes.
Judy then slaps Punch. They both kiss and dance and sing. Oh, good evening, Joan. Can you say hello to everyone?
Hello, everyone. Oi, are you blind? Who am I talking to? There's nobody there.
Well, you see that thing there that looks like an eyeball. The people are on the other side of that, watching from all over the world.
All over the world, you say? I don't see anyone.
Trust me, they're there.
I see. Well then, hello.
My goodness, Joan, what happened to your nose?
Oh, Punchinello chopped it off.
What? Why on earth did he do that?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, that's very cruel despite the reason. I see. Well, I'll just let you get on with it then. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, I give you Punchinello.
Oh, you want a kiss, do you? Okay, just let me blow my nose. Oh, that's right, you chopped it off.
All right, just one. I have work to do. On the count of 3. A 1, a 2, 3.
Oh my, that's what they call a French kiss. Now, no more silly business. I want you to hold the baby while I finish doing the dishes. Isn't she a pretty baby? Now mind her while I finish doing the dishes. Here, hold the baby. I said hold the baby. Joan pulls the old switcheroo, then takes the baby from Punchinello. I don't want to hold the baby. I said I don't want to hold the baby. Fine then, I shall go and finish the dishes then. Punchinello was left holding the baby. Punchinello, where's my pretty baby? You did what? Well, I'll throw you away. She then chases him around and starts beating him.
Punchinello returns blows and beats her to death. This does not look good for our little friend, as the neighbors heard all the commotion and called the constable. The constable is very determined and resolved to get his man, in his power by special authority. The police constable arrives and begins looking for Punchinello.
Mr. Punchinello! Mr. Punchinello! Has anyone seen Mr. Punchinello? Ah, there you are. You thought you could hide from me. Well, Mr. Punchinello, I am here on a disturbance call.
And he knocks him down. The constable gets up again, saying,
Do you know, sir, that I have a special order in my pocket to take you up?
And he knocks him down. The constable gets up and says,
You know, my boy, that I have an order to lock you up.
And he knocks him back down. The constable gets back up again.
And I have a warrant for you, my boy.
And they sort of battle it out, exchanging blows.
That's a good one. That's a topper.
And so Punch finishes him off. Eventually, Punchinello is apprehended, brought before the court and sentenced to death by beheading until dead for the murder of his fellow puppets, his baby, his wife Jo, and the poor constable. At the chopping block, Punchinello faces the executioner.
Mr. Punchinello, you are to be executed for your crimes by the British and foreign laws of this and other countries, and you are to be decapitated until you are dead, dead, dead. No, only once. Yes, and when you are dead, 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 you will be quite dead. Here's the coffin, here is the block, and here is the axe. Yes, now put your head on the block. No, on the block. No, on the block. Oh, goodness. You're not dead. Get up. No, you're not. Now get up. No, now get up. Oh, very well. Hold this.
And he hands Punchinello the axe, then puts his head on the block while giving Punchinello detailed instructions.
Now what you do is, you kneel down, and you lay your head on the block. Like this. And then we will read the charges filed against you. And then you will be given the opportunity to say a few last words, and then you say, goodbye and fare you well. And he brings down the axe and kills the executioner.
To Punchinello's surprise, he wakes up in H.E. double toothpicks. Well, that was unexpected. The land of fire and damnation, as it is known. It is known as the land of ice and eternal cold to others. In our story, it is the land of eternal darkness and solitude. Of course, its most gracious and vicious host is still the man of many names, but in our story, we're going to call him Lucifer. But first, Punchinello is haunted. Ooh. 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 Punchinello looks around, and the baby's ghost is behind him, and eventually appears before him. Boo!
I am coming for you, Punchinello.
Says a voice from below. Punchinello begins to shake with fear.
Then up pops Lucifer with a flourish. Ha 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 ha! Now, Punchinello, do you know who I am? No, I am not Father Christmas. No, I am not the Pope. No, I am not the Easter Bunny. I am the devil, the Lord of the underworld, and you have been a very naughty boy.
Hasn't he, everyone? Oh, yes, you have. Oh, yes, you have. And for your crimes, you shall suffer for all eternity. Yes, I mean, no, I will not make your supper. You think you're funny, don't you? Well, I will have the last laugh. Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Punchinello grabs a stick, laughs, giving the devil a hit with his stick each time. You won't think it's funny when I poke you with my fork. They have a battle. Lucifer eventually knocks away Punchinello's stick. Lucifer then grabs Punchinello and drags him down to the very depths of the black abyss. Lucifer then returns. Now that's the way to do it. My dear young maiden clingeth, unbending fast and firm, to all the long-held teaching of a mother's ever true. As in vampires unmortal, folk on Theseus' portal, Hayduck-like do believe, but my Christine thou dost dally, in wilt my loving parry, till I myself avenging, to a vampire's health a-drinking, him toast in pale tokay. And as softly thou art sleeping, to thee I shall come a-creeping, and thy life's blood drain away. And so thou shalt be trembling, for thus I shall be kissing, and death's threshold thou'lt it be crossing, with fear in my cold arms. And last shall I thee question, compared to such instruction, what are a mother's charms?
You who like the stab of a knife entered my plaintive heart. You who, strong as a herd of demons, came ardent and adorned to make your bed in your domain of my humiliated mind. Infamous bitch to whom I am bound like a convict to his chain, like the stubborn gambler to the game, like the drunkard to his wine, like the maggots to the corpse. Accursed be you! I beg the swift poignard to gain for me my liberty. I ask perfidious poison to give aid to my cowardice. Alas, both poison and the knife contemptuously said to me, "You do not deserve to be freed from your accursed slavery, fool! If from her domination our efforts could deliver you, your kisses would resuscitate the cadaver of your vampire."
It's a frightful occasion to spook around my ears to an old alumnus such as myself.
I've never had a dreadful time. Oh! Me either. I haven't had this much fun since I was a guest speaker at the retirement dinner for Casper's ghost. Have you had time to visit any of our old haunts? Oh!
I stopped by the old hangout, Mummy's ice cream shop.
Do they still have ice cream like Mummy used to make?
Oh, everything is just the same. Same old screams, bodies rotting on the juice bar, same old bad burgers and greasy french fried beetles topped with fresh plucked owl feathers. Even that sweat hog Frankenstein was sitting in his favorite booth eating a boo-hoo berry sundae. We had a terrible conversation about the bad old days. You know that Frankie is really a horrible person. He's not just an ugly face.
Bubble, bubble, toil and trouble, turn Satan's beard into white stubble. We certainly haven't lost our touch since we've been away.
It's like learning to ride a broom. You never forget it.
Well, I hope King Charming won't be too unhappy about what we've done to his son.
Professor Rattlechain sure taught us some terrific spells.
He was the most intelligent ghost I've ever seen. Curse his soul.
Remember this one? Tail of a tiger, toe of a bee, thumb of a sparrow, and one frog's knee.
No, you've got it all wrong. It isn't one frog's knee, it's 2 toad's teeth. Details are important, Clara. That's why you always got poor grades in spelling.
It isn't even toad's teeth anymore. The Plague and Curse Administration disclosed this high sodium count in toad's teeth. They suggested substituting horse's hooves instead. You can't possibly use horse's hooves.
Why not?
I can't think of anything that rhymes with horse's hooves.
Oh, well, what about decaying roofs? Or powder poofs?
Powder poofs? I really dig these reunions. How long have you been coming to them?
Ever since I had a run-in with old Mother Hubbard.
Old Mother Hubbard? What did she ever do to you?
She never did nothing to me directly, but she insulted our whole family. Remember how she'd always run to the cupboard to give her poor dog a bone? Well, that was me great Aunt Bertha she was giving away to her dog.
Oi, sounds like a grave situation to me. What did you do?
Oh, I fixed her. Late one night, I crept into a cupboard and got my aunt. Just as we were about to leave, I heard the old lady Hubbard coming down the stairs. Not knowing where to stash me Aunt Bertha, I sticks her in a little room off the hallway. And my friend, that is how my aunt won a place in the Haunted Hall of Fame.
Your great Aunt Bertha got into the Haunted Hall of Fame by sitting in a little room off old Mother Hubbard's hallway?
Yep. She was the first skeleton in the closet.
Hey, you know who I haven't seen at this reunion? The Boogeyman.
He's still recovering from boogie fever. Ow! The witch doctor didn't give him a ghost of a chance to recover. There's almost nothing that can be done for a boogeyman with boogie fever. He didn't hide behind the trees at night or make scary shadows on kids' walls. The boogie fever got into his blood and he couldn't stop dancing. Oh!
How is he now?
Oh, he's cured, but it took drastic measures. He had to be locked in a room and only listen to waltzes, dinner music, and polkas for 3 days.
Now that is what I call frightening. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
He swore off boogie music completely. He breaks out in a rash if someone even accidentally bumps into him.
Oh, hey, listen, it's the Spookalama anthem.
Witches, goblins, ghosts, and more. Ooh-ah, ooh-ah, ooh. With a boo-boo here and a passion there. Spook around the time was more. Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. Spook away, everybody.
In a rich land full of snails, I want to dig myself a deep pit, where I can lay out my old bones at leisure, and sleep in oblivion like a shark in the waves. I hate wills, and I hate tombs. Rather than begging a tear from the world, alive, I'd rather invite the crows to bleed all the ends of my filthy carcass. Oh, worms, dark companions without ears and without eyes, see coming to you a free and joyful dead man. Living philosophers, sons of rot, through my ruin go therefore without remorse, and tell me if there is still some torture for that old body without a soul and dead among the dead.
See how swiftly she succumbs so easily. Her trusting innocence becomes a ready target for someone like me. Oh, how beautiful she is, reclining succulent and still, her soft white throat exposed to me, inviting me to drink my fill. And yet there's something makes me pause and stand and wait. I do not know what gives me cause to hesitate. What is happening to me? She lies there subject to my will. Is this some ancient memory that blunts my readiness to kill? Some trace of pity rears its head and calls to me. A face that I had long thought dead cries out for mercy, although she lies there so wide open and defenseless. It seems I cannot even bring myself to touch. It's a position I find ludicrously senseless when basic needs cry out so much. I must have no truck with remorse. It is a curse beyond compare. I shall strangle it at source. It is a course I cannot bear. Such tender feelings lead to pain. They make me ill. I shall not suffer it again. I've had my fill. I will not let it get to me. It must not be.
Let us go hence. The night is now at hand. The day is overworn, the birds all flown, and we have reaped the crops the gods have sown. Despair and death, deep darkness o'er the land, broods like an owl we cannot understand. Laughter or tears, for we have only known surpassing vanity. Vain things alone have driven our perverse and aimless band. Let us go hence, somewhither strange and cold, to hollow lands where just men and unjust find end of labor, where's rest for the old, freedom to all from love and fear and lust. Twine our torn hands, oh pray the earth unfold our life-sick hearts and turn them into dust. In tombs of gold and lapis lazuli, bodies of holy men and women exude miraculous oil, odor of violet. But under heavy loads of trampled clay lie bodies of the vampires, full of blood. The shrouds are bloody, and their lips are wet. Once a stranger youth to Corinth came, who in Athens lived, but hoped that he from a certain townsman there might claim as his father's friend kind courtesy. Son and daughter they had been wont to say should thereafter bride and bridegroom be. But can he, that boon so highly prized, saved his dearly bought, now hope to get? They are Christians and have been baptized, he and all of his are heathens yet. For a newborn creed, like some loathsome weed, love and truth to root oft will threat. Father, daughter had all gone to rest, and the mother only watches late. She receives with courtesy the guest, and conducts him to the room of state. Wine and food are brought ere by him besought. Bidding him good night, she leaves him straight. But he feels no relish now, in truth, for the dainties so profusely spread. Meat and drink forgets the wearied youth, and he still dressed lays him on the bed. Scarce are closed his eyes when a foreman hies through the open door with silent tread. By his glimmering lamp discerns he now how in veil and garment white arrayed, with the black and gold band around her brow, glides into the room a bashful maid. But she, at his sight, lifts her hands so white, and appears as though full sore afraid. "Am I," she cries, "such a stranger here that the guests approach they could not name? Ah, they keep me in my cloister drear, well nigh feel I vanquished by my shame. On thy soft couch now slumber calmly thou, I'll return as swiftly as I came." "Stay thou, fairest maiden," cries the boy, starting from his couch with eager haste. "Here are Ceres, Bacchus, gifts of joy, and more bringest thou with beauty graced. Thou art pale with fear, loved one, let us here prove the raptures of immortal's taste. Draw not nigh, O youth, afar remain, rapture now can never smile on me. For the fatal step, alas, is taken, through my mother's sick bed fantasy. Cured she made this oath, youth and nature both shall henceforth to heaven devoted be. From the house so silent now are driven all the gods who reigned supreme of yore. One invisible now rules in heaven, on the cross a Savior they adore. Victims slay here, neither lamb nor steer, but the altars reek with human gore. And he lists, and every word he weighs, while his eager soul drinks in each sound. Can it be now before my grace stands my loved one on this silent ground? Pledge to me thy troth. Through our father's oath, with heaven's blessing, will our love be crowned. Kindly youth, I can never be thine. 'Tis my sister they intended for thee. When I am in the silent cloister pine, ah, with her arms remember me. Thee alone I love, while love's pangs I prove, soon the earth will veil my misery. No, for this glowing flame I swear, Hymen hath proper to us shown. Let us to my father's house repair, and thou shalt find joy not yet flown. Sweet is here, then stay, and without delay, hold we now our wedding feast alone. Then exchange they tokens of their truth. She gives him a golden chain to wear, and a silver chalice would the youth give her in return of beauty rare. That is not for me, yet I beg of thee, one lock only give me of thy hair. Now the ghostly hour of midnight knelled, and she seemed right joyous at the side. To her pallid lips the cup she held, but she drank of naught but blood-red wine. For to taste the bread there before them spread, naught he spoke could make the maid incline. To the youth the goblet then she brought, he too quaffed with eager joy the bowl. Love to crown the silent feast he sought. Ah, full love-sick was the stripling soul. From his prayer she shrinks, till at length he sinks on the bed and weeps without control. And she comes and lays her near the boy. How I grieve to see thee sorrowing so. If thou think'st to clasp my form with joy, thou must learn this secret sad to know. Yes, the maid whom thou callest thy loved one now is as cold as ice, though white as snow. Then he clasped her madly in his arm, while love's youthful might pervades his frame. Thou mightest hope when with me to grow warm, even if from the grave thy spirit came, breath for breath and kiss, overflow of bliss. Dost not thou, like me, feel passion's flame? Love still closer rivets now their lips, tears they mingle with the rapture blessed. From his mouth the flame she wildly sips, each is with the other's thought possessed. His hot odors flood warms her chilly blood, but no heart is beating in her chest. In her care to see what not went wrong, now the mother happened to draw near. The door long hearkened she, full long, wondering at the sounds that greet her ear. Tones of joy and sadness, and love's blissful madness, as of bride and bridegroom they appear. From the door she will not now remove, till she's gained full certainty of this. And with anger here she vows of love, soft caressing words of mutual bliss. Hush, the cock's loud strain, but thou come again when the night returns, then kiss on kiss. Then her wrath the mother cannot hold, but unfastens straight the lock with ease. In this house our girls become so bold as to seek in strangers thus to please? By her lamp's clear glow looks she in, and oh, sight of horror! 'Tis her child she sees. Fain the youth would in his first alarm, with the veil that cover her had been spread, with the carpet shields his love from harm, but she cast them from her, void of dread, and with spirit's strength, in its spectre's length, lifts her figure slowly from the bed. Mother, mother, thus her lips wane, may not I one night of rapture share? From the warm couch I am chased away. Do I waken only to despair? It contents not thee to have driven me an untimely shroud of death to wear. But from out of my coffin's prison's bounds by a wondrous fate I am forced to rove, while the blessings and the chanting sound of your priests delight in useless prove. Water, salt, or vain fervent youth to chain. Ah, on earth can never cool down love. When that infant vow of love was spoken, Venus's radiant temple smiled on both. Mother, thou our promise since hath broken, fettered by a strange deceitful oath. God, though hearken nearer, should a mother swear to deny her daughter's plighted troth? From my grave to wander I am forced, still to seek the good's long severed link, still to love the bridegroom I have lost, and the lifeblood of his heart to drink. When his race is run I must hasten on, and the youngest must neath my vengeance sink. Beauteous youth, no longer mayest thou live, here must shriveled up thy form so fair. Did not I to thee a token give, taking in return this lock of hair? View it as thy sorrow, great thou be tomorrow, only to grow brown again when there. Mother, to this final prayer give ear. Let a funeral pile be straightened away dressed. Open up then my cell so sad and drear, that the flames may give the lovers rest. When ascends the fire from the glowing pyre, to the gods of old we hasten to bless.
Good evening and welcome back. We hope you enjoyed the show. Were those not some great poems and stories? Oh, amazing stuff, amazing stuff. I just love those old Victorian poems and stories. They just had a way with words. But I'd like to give a shout out to my fiend, William Westwater, across the pond in Scotland. A shout out to my brother and his partner in crime, Krista, up in Toronto. What's up? And of course I have to thank the wonderful people at Lulu's Storage Room for making the amazing Victorian puppets for me. They are great people to work with and very talented artists, and it's always a pleasure when I have a chance to speak with them or create something new. So again, thank you very much. I couldn't do this without you guys, and you are absolutely amazing. And that about wraps up the show for tonight. So I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great summer. And until next time, we'll see you on the other side.